right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We talk sports with you 7 nights a week. We don't take a night off. Love to hear from you at 412-575-2600. Bob Pompeani here and Drew Fillipponi there, which is 93.7 The Fan. On a day where the Steelers picked up a veteran player, someone who's still very young at 26, had some injuries, had some surgeries, but Asante Samuel Jr. Was a second-round pick, and he's had his moments with the Chargers. But I'm curious now, Andrew, how do you think he fits in here, especially since he hasn't played football in over a year, it seems?
Well, I think he's got an opportunity to get some playing time. Darius Slay, I think, has struggled, and now he's in the concussion protocol. Who knows how long it's going to take for him to get out of it. And even if he does, I don't think that he's assured a starting spot again. Mike Tomlin waxed poetic today about James Pierre. I happen to think James Pierre, even though he's kind of a journeyman corner, I think he's playing better than Slay right now, and I thought he actually showed some things in this game against the Chargers and the week before against the Colts. So I would actually play him over Slay, and so that means that I think when Samuel's ready, he should have a chance to get in there. Probably outside. You've got Eccles inside, and I don't think Porter Jr.'s coming out of the lineup, but they've got a crying need for another starting corner with the way Darius Slay has played this year. And I think Asante Samuel picked the Steelers among teams that were interested because he sees this as the best chance for himself to get on the field and get his NFL career started again.
And how soon do you think that may be? To me, it's going to take some time. A lot of people expect him to play, and that's one of our questions tonight at KDKA.com Connect. Would you start Asante Samuel Jr. on Sunday? To me, that's too soon. The answer is absolutely not. What's your take on that?
Well, I was talking to Brian McFadden about this because he's a Florida State guy just like Samuel, so there's some common knowledge there, and also that's Brian's position, corner, and he seems to think this is a move more for December. He doesn't think, given the type of surgery that he had, we're talking about one of these spinal fusion surgeries. That's what Peyton Manning had to come back and play. I don't know. I don't get the sense from the people I talk to that he's going to be a Kyle Duggar candidate, Bob, where he goes right in. This might be him needing basically like his own mini version of training camp, a personal training camp, to get himself back in football shape. And, maybe we see him around Thanksgiving.
I agree with that 100%. Meantime, Joe Burrow is back. The 21-day window is officially open, but he's not going to play this week, nor should he. He's probably also looking at Thursday. But, we're talking about him today, and it dawns on me and everyone else who follows the Bengals when you look at them, the quarterback has not been their problem. I don't know if they can do much better than what Joe Flacco has done. It's their defense, and their defense is just one of the worst maybe ever, averaging 400 and I don't know how many yards a game they give up. But I guess based on what that says is I would expect a whole bunch of points in this game. I'm curious, your friends at FanDuel, what is the over and under on this one?
I think it's 49 last I checked, which is pretty high. I mean, that's one of the higher ones you'll see in the
I'll
NFL.
go over.
Usually anytime a total gets over 50 in the NFL, that's on the high side. You're right, though. I mean, they've given up since the Steelers game 39 points to the Jets and 47 to the Bears. They've gotten worse since they beat the Steelers, considerably worse defensively, and I thought they looked terrible in that game. Mike Tomlin talked today about how their inside linebackers have changed. Okay, great. I mean, it hasn't made a difference. They gave up almost 500 yards of offense last time out against the Bears. So this better be a game where the Steelers pretty much do whatever they want offensively, both in throwing the ball around with Aaron Rodgers and also in the run game. And I still, for the life of me, cannot wrap my head around the fact that not only did Jaylen Warren never get the ball on third down, he was not in the game for a single third down against the Chargers. That just baffles me. It blows my mind. And Kenneth Gainwell, even if you subtract the third down plays, Bob, he still out-snapped him in the game.
Yeah, 27 to 24,
no sense
which
to me.
is ridiculous, and I agree with that. I know Mike said today that they don't view him as an every down back. Sure, you got to have rest along the way, but yeah, to me, he'd be a 3-down back right now. I think he's proven that, and he was the most electric player they had the other night, even in the pass game. He's not a stranger to that. He did it when Najee Harris was here, and I thought he did it very well. So I think that's something that will change this week. I'd love to see more carries. I'd like to see him go over 20 and see what can happen against this defense, which has given up a lot of yards, including Warren went over 100 against them the last time they played. We got to take a break, Pony. We'll come back, open up the phone lines at 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We are live right here on KDKA Plus and tonight 93.7 The Fan as well. All right, this is our Xfinity tweet of the night from Brendan Fajoko. You might remember him, played here recently. Asante Samuel Jr. needs to be starting at the moment he signed that contract. Zont is a hooper, so he proposes to have Asante Samuel Jr. along with Joey Porter Jr., a couple of juniors there, Eccles at nickel, Ramsey free safety, and then Kyle Duggar as the box safety. Your thoughts on that, Andrew? Because, again, I just don't see that happening this soon. There's too much that, and if he's referring to, down the road, that's fine. But for right now, I don't think I'm going to put him in there, especially in this game against that team and those receivers.
No, I don't think so either. But it does beg an interesting question about how you play this game defensively, because Mike Tomlin was asked about that. He talked about how, the best way to limit Jamar Chase is to force the Bengals to throw the ball to somebody else. Well, I don't remember that strategy the last time they played. The guy got targeted 23 times. So they've got to change something up. Ramsey's not going to play corner. He's going to play safety. James Pierre played against Chase last year here in Week 18 and gave up a touchdown very early on. But then if you remember, the Steelers actually did a pretty good job defensively against the Bengals in that Week 18 loss. It was Trey Hendrickson and the defense, really, that beat the Steelers that night.
Or the Steelers' offense beat themselves, by the way. I thought their game plan was terrible in that night.
Right. And then the game management at the end of the game was just really bad on Russell Wilson's part. So, I expect them defensively to play better. I don't think Joe Flacco, now that he's being taken out of Cincinnati where he's played the last 3 games, I don't expect him to do as well here in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think Samuel gets promoted off the practice squad for this game. I do think it'll be interesting to see if MVS does.
Yeah.
Because Scotty Miller's coming off of that finger injury, too, and Mike Tomlin gave him a clean bill of health, and he's already on the active roster. So, I don't know. It makes you wonder if MVS is going to get that shot or not. I think he should, but I'm wondering if he will. I don't think he will, actually, against the Bengals this week.
One thing about throwing to somebody else, if you have Jamar Chase covered, not only do they have T. Higgins, we saw in that last game, Yoshivas got into the action, so did Noah Fant. Chase Brown out of the backfield had some really big receptions. They could spread it around pretty good. So this will be a good test for their defense, which is coming off a lackluster performance. I expect that to change. I also expect the way they played against Cincinnati to change. They put hardly any pressure. Contrast that with what you saw last week, where they had like 43% pressures on one of the better quarterbacks in the game. I think they're going to go after him this time and see what happens there. It could be dangerous, but I don't expect them to sit back and just let him pick you apart, because that's what he'll do. He'll pick you apart.
Well, Joe Flacco, that's why I agree with you. I mean, Joe Burrow against the Steelers, he'd be hard-pressed to do as well as Flacco did that game in Cincinnati on a Thursday night. Their problem is defense. It's not the quarterback throwing the ball right now. And, if you think about it, Bob, the Bengals beat the Steelers and then gave 2 games in a row away. They gave that game away to the Jets.
Yep.
They stormed all the way back. They were down 14 points with 2 minutes left, and Joe Flacco had just thrown a red zone pick. And they actually came all the way back, recovered an onside kick, took the lead, only to have Caleb Williams find Loveland for a touchdown with less than a minute left. They're 3-6. If they had won those 2 games, they'd be 5-4 right now, the same record as the Steelers, with the tiebreaker going into this game. I mean, they could very easily be a 5-4 team right now with Joe Burrow on the verge of coming back, if not for the way they melted down at the end of those Jets and Bears games. They got to be kicking themselves there, Bob.
Both had those win percentages at over 90% at the time. Time was ticking down, and both ended up as losses, which is just stunning to me. And you're right, they would have been 5-4. With the tiebreaker, let's go to the phone lines, Andrew. It's our #1 Cochran Go One Better caller of the night, and that would begin with Dave, who's in Georgia. Hello, Dave. How are you?
Hey, how are you, man?
Good, thanks.
I love your show, first of all.
Thanks.
And my thing is this, two things. First of all, the lack of adjustments at halftime. For the life of me, I am 54 years old. I have been a Steeler fan since, I was 4 years old. And I have never seen this organization and the state it's in now. And the continued thing of doing the exact same thing, expecting a different outcome, to me is insanity.
What are you specifically referring to, Dave?
When another team is, running the ball down our throat, we make no adjustments on defense. I'm looking at the games, and I'm watching them continue. Because they're like, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But we don't make adjustments. Whether we don't have the personnel or it's just a lack of coaching.
Well, it's probably a combination of both, but I will tell you the biggest example of that was the Green Bay game, I thought, where they had them down 16-7 at halftime. They had done a very good job, I thought, against Jordan Love early in that game. And Andrew, then they had the ball to start the second half, and the next thing you know, 3 straight possessions. They couldn't stop Love. They couldn't stop anything all of a sudden. So whatever happened there at halftime certainly worked for Green Bay and not so much for the Steelers.
Mike Tomlin today threw it back on his players again when talking about what the Chargers did defensively. He said nothing they did surprised us. They doubled DK Metcalf, and they didn't blitz Aaron Rodgers. And we thought they would do both of those things, and we game planned for both of those things. So when he said that, it made me feel like, hey, we told our players exactly what was going to happen. It happened, and we still didn't execute. And I think, again, he doesn't want to say that Aaron Rodgers lost that game against the Chargers, but everything about the way he's talked about that game after the fact makes me feel like he's biting his tongue on that, which, okay, I get it. You don't want to criticize a guy that you begged to come here and is at the end and is a Hall of Fame player, but I think that the analysis of that game, Bob, is just that simple.
Yeah.
If they get better quarterback play against the Chargers, they probably win.
I don't think Tomlin had to do it because Rodgers did it to himself. He called it a bad performance, and he called himself out as well as everybody else. So I think that was an obvious call there, and we'll see what happens this week. But not only do they have this game against the team that's given up yards, the Chicago Bears, I don't know if you, and I'm sure you have, Andrew, a lot of people out there may not realize they're giving up tons of yards also. They can score. They can do a lot of interesting things. I think Ben Johnson's done a nice job with that team, but they're also giving up tons of points and yards.
They are. And they really were going to lose to the Giants until Jackson Dart left that game with a concussion, and Russell Wilson had to go in, and the Giants had no life offensively after that. Bob, I did see tonight the college football playoff rankings get released, and Pitt's at 22. And then they brought up Notre Dame on this show. And after Pitt, Notre Dame plays Syracuse and Stanford. Bob, this is basically a play-in for the playoff for Notre Dame. Did you know that?
Yeah, if they lose this game, they're going to be out. They're going to win those next 2 games. But if they win this game, they're in because they're not going to lose to Syracuse or Stanford. And Pat Narduzzi is talking about how this game doesn't matter. It's basically for a ticket to get punched for Notre Dame. You better believe it, batters. You want to keep Notre Dame out of the playoff if you're Pitt. Come on now. Plus, if you're
Pitt, you got
a
rivalry with the Irish.
You still have a case to be made at large. It may not be the highest percentage case, but if you beat Notre Dame and knock them out, you create a spot, and it could be filled, who knows, by you, depending on how this goes. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 games after that, but if they win all 3 and somehow don't get into that ACC championship game, I'm not sure how the tiebreakers work, but why not give that a chance? This is as big a game, considering it's Notre Dame. And whatever you want to believe about what he said, I understand what he's saying, but he said it in such a terrible way that it's really just all over the place now virally.
And, Bob, think about this, too. Miami has a very good chance, because both their losses are ACC losses, of winning out and missing the championship game. They got to play NC State. I think they got to play I forget who the other 2 games are very winnable. They don't play another ranked team the rest of the way. They could go 10-2 and get left out. They beat Notre Dame head-to-head.
Right.
I mean, how would the committee take Notre Dame at 10-2 and leave out Miami at 10-2? Miami actually, for that reason, all they got to do, I think, is take care of their own business, and maybe it's good for them if they get left out of the ACC championship game, because The committee won't be able to justify taking Notre Dame without Miami, and you know the committee wants to take Notre Dame. They're dying to take Notre Dame at 10-2.
Absolutely, and those two losses were to, as you said, Texas A&M and to Miami. Those are impressive losses, if there is such a thing. Notre Dame has every reason to think they could do that, but they got to win out, and I think they will win out. That's going to be a tough game for Pitt. I hope they do win it. I'd love to see what happens in that regard, but we'll see after that. And they still have a chance to. Do you know the tiebreakers exactly? I was trying to read them today, and I still can't figure out when you have multiple teams involved. It goes all the way down to like 4 or 5 layers.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And Miami plays that last game here against Pitt, but Pitt won't be ranked if they lose at home to Notre Dame, is my point.
But how about if they win?
I would think
how about if they beat Notre Dame, a ranked team? How about if they beat is Georgia Tech? I don't think they're ranked anymore. And Miami are ranked.
They are. They still are.
Where
they're
are
ranked.
they?
Georgia Tech's ranked.
Okay, they're whatever.
I think they're
That's
like 18th.
3 ranked teams in a row you could be heading into whatever lies ahead. And I think even if it's an at-large case, you have a case, depending on what else happens.
If Pitt wins out in the regular season, then I think they'll make the playoff unless they get blown out in the ACC championship game. I think they would deserve it at that point if they beat all 3 of those teams.
All right, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. 412-575-2600. We're going to take Skip from Tarentum in a second. We're going to take a break right now. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We return right after this. All right, back. Skip in Tarentum. You only have about 30 seconds. Make it quick, please, Skip.
Hey, how you doing?
Go right ahead.
If you see Rodgers end up getting benched, who would you rather see come in, Rudolph or Howard? Being we didn't see Howard at all in a preseason.
No, you're not going to see him. You're not, unless something collapses all around. I don't think you're going to see anybody but Aaron Rodgers, and I expect the next 2 weeks will be an opportunity for him to right the ship, and I think he will. He's going to put up numbers against, especially Cincinnati. He may do it against Chicago as well.
I think so too, but I got news for you. If he doesn't against those 2 teams and they lose both games, I would seriously consider Rudolph at that point. If he can't move the ball against these defenses, Bob, he's got to step up his play the next 2 games, period.
No, I agree with that. And if he doesn't, and we saw what we saw on, Sunday night in the next 2 weeks, whereas he looks unsure of himself and, kind of in the self-preservation mode. I don't like that look, and I think it was just because of what the Chargers were bringing. Pony, as always, good to talk to you, and we'll see you again later in the week. Appreciate it, man.
See you, Bob. Goodbye.
All right, that's Andrew Fillipponi. Thank you guys out there for joining us. We'll do it again tomorrow night, and as I said at the beginning, we do it every night, 7 nights a week, right here for the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Good night.